Aloha ohana. I hope you guys are all having a great week. For those of you just stopping by for the first time, hi, welcome. My name is Kai, and here on this channel we talk all true crime cases that happen in the 808 state. Today's case is going to be talking about child abuse, physical abuse, mental illness, and death of a child. So for those viewers that are super sensitive, please feel free to click out and come back and check me out next week when I upload a new video. All right, let's just jump right into today's case. Zion O'Neal Kingston McKeown was born on November 25th, 2007 in Honolulu, Hawaii to parents Angelique Rooney and father KaiaulaniKaiawe McKeown. Zion also has a sister named Isabella Perez and two brothers, KaiaulaniKaiawe McKeown Jr. and Josiah McKeown. I'm not sure if these are Zion's half-siblings or true siblings. I wasn't really able to find out that information. So if any of you guys know, feel free to leave a comment below. From a very young age, basically from infancy, Zion suffered physical abuse at the hands of his parents. In March of 2008, when Zion was just 4 months old, he was beaten so badly that he was brought to KaiaulaniKaiawe Medical Hospital with seizures and broken rib fractures. According to Zion's maternal grandmother, Marianne Rooney, Zion was beaten so badly that he was unable to drink from a bottle and breathe at the same time. Due to the physical abuse, Zion suffered permanent life injuries, which included developmental delay in his speech, cognitive, motor skills, and social development. The state deemed Zion's parents unfit, and so they took Zion out of the home and placed Zion with his maternal grandmother, Marianne Rooney. Now at this point, it doesn't say, and I never found any information on it, it doesn't say that Zion's parents were charged for any type of abuse, criminally charged for what they did to their 4-month-old baby. Doesn't say anything like that. The state wanted Angelique to take some parenting classes if she wanted to gain custody of Zion. Just parenting classes, no, psych evaluation, no supervised visits at first, and then, transition Zion back into his mother's care. No, just parenting classes. And so Angelique complied. And before you know it, the state took Zion from his grandmother's home and put him back right into his mother's arms. Now, Marianne Rooney, Zion's grandmother, she urged the state, she begged them not to put Zion back in Angelique's care, even though Angelique is Marianne's daughter. Marianne claimed that Angelique suffered from bipolar, and that, Marianne's whole point, and I agree with her, was that why would you put an infant back into the care, whether it's the parent or not, whoever it is, why would you put an infant back into someone's care that had beaten them so badly that they developed permanent life injuries? I mean, no parenting class, in my opinion, don't come for me, no parenting class can never change that. I mean, once you beat a child and a 4-month-old, I don't think there's no going back from that. There's no coming back from that. So anyways, nevertheless, moving on. When Zion was 4 years old, I guess Angelique was over it. She didn't want to parent him anymore. So she sent Zion to Maui to live with his biological father, KaiaulaniKaiawe McKeown. On May 29, 2012, around 10:55 p.m., 32-year-old KaiaulaniKaiawe McKeown and his girlfriend, 27-year-old Grace Lee Nakamoto, they show up at Maui Memorial Hospital with Zion, who is unresponsive and gray in color. Now, the doctors and the hospital staff, they see Zion and they see that he's gray, and they know that, at this point, he's not breathing. The doctors and the hospital staff, they're able to revive Zion. They, send him and rush him to undergo emergency surgery. But unfortunately, the internal organs and all of Zion's injuries were just too much for his little body. He passed away, he died on March 30th, 2012 at 4:30 a.m. in the morning. Zion had a bleeding bowel as well as lacerated pancreas, with his bowels being prolapsed into his rectum, through his rectum. A trauma surgeon claimed the injuries Zion has equals to someone hitting a concrete wall at 65 miles per hour. Okay, I need to say that again. Just think about that for a second. A trauma surgeon said that the injuries little four-year-old Zion had equals someone hitting a concrete wall at 65 miles per hour. I mean, that is just crazy. This poor little 4-year-old boy had to endure so much physical abuse in his short little life. I mean, can you imagine what he was thinking? He must have been scared, and he must have been so frightened, of the people that are supposed to take care of him. Autopsy comes back and they reveal that Zion died from the blunt force trauma to his abdomen. So doctors conclude that he was stomped to death. Basically, somebody stomped on him, and he had all those injuries and died. There were bruises all over Zion's body. There were bruises on his arms, his face, his legs, his back, his neck. There was bruises on his chest, on the back of his head. I mean, this kid was being abused. Now, Kyle and his girlfriend Grace are arrested for Zion's murder, and their bail are each set at $1 million. Now, Kyle would spend the next five and a half years behind bars because he can't afford bail. Grace Nakamoto is able to get out of jail in 2013. Now, I'm not sure if she made bail or if they dropped the bail, but she was cooperating with police and she was able to get out in 2013. In April of 2018, the prosecutor's office asked that the case be dismissed without prejudice due to the case taking too long to go to trial. Now, 2 months after Kyle was released, he was re-indicted on new charges. And the charges were causing Zion's death by inflicting injury on him or by failing to seek timely medical attention for him from May 21st to May 29th of 2012. Now, this was an enhanced sentencing provision because Zion was under 8 years old. Sentencing provision. This would be second-degree murder without the possibility of parole. Both Kyle and Grace pleaded not guilty. Both were released on supervised release. Kyle's attorney, Matthew Nardi, really went to bat for him. Basically, Kyle's attorney, Mr. Nardi, would say stuff like, as soon as Kyle got out of prison, he found a job and he found a place to live, and that the entire time that Kyle was behind bars, he never had any sanctions whatsoever. And a sanction is basically he didn't get in trouble while he was in jail, is what Kyle's attorney was claiming. He also said that, Kyle should be released because he's not a flight risk. If Kyle wanted to dig out, he could have done so back in April 2018 when the original charges were dismissed. So Kyle was granted his supervised release. Grace was still on supervised release. On the other hand, the first deputy prosecuting attorney, Robert Rivera, he argued that Zion McKeown's criminal history includes convictions for multiple charges of assault, abuse, contempt of court, resisting arrest, and assault of a police officer. Now, on June 28, 2018, in a hearing with the Honorable Judge Richard Bisson, the original charges for second-degree murder were dismissed, again because the case was taking too long to go to trial. Now, it was said that both the defendant, so Kyle's team, and the prosecutor's office, right, the state, both sides were cooperating throughout those 5.5 years. And it was said that the trial took a really long time because some of the witness experts were not available for about, 6 months. So they were waiting for, experts and just timely schedules. and something like 2,000 and something days. It was like 2,000 and like 600 days. Couple things about this case. First of all, I mean, the justice system, they had Kyle sit in jail for 5.5 years, and then they dismissed the case without prejudice. Without prejudice means that the prosecutor's office can always come back and reopen the charges and the case. But they took so long to bring this case to trial. You know, there's a time limit. Well, I don't know if there's a time limit on murder. I don't think there is. But, you know, there's a time limit. And so they let it go on for years and years and years. And so they dropped the original charges and they indict him on a new charge, which almost sounds like a lesser charge. It's just crazy. I mean, poor little Zion, you know, he needs some justice. His family needs justice, and his family needs closure. Now, I know Marianne Rooney, which is Zion's grandmother, she filed a lawsuit against the state on behalf of Zion's sister and Zion's estate. The case did settle, and she was awarded $875,000. So the state did take some responsibility in that. Now, another thing I want to say is, and this is not anything new, the Child Protective Services system needs to be totally rehauled. It needs a new director in there, and it needs to turn that place upside down and inside out, because the way things are operating or have been operating, so many children slip through the cracks, you know, and it's always the same excuses. It's always we don't have enough staff. Oh, we want to keep the child with the family because, you know, that's what's best for the child. No, it's not. It's not best for the child when the mom and the dad beats a child when they're 4 months old. No, it's not. I don't care what you say. That child is better off with somebody else, you know, that is set up to protect children, right? Because that's what they're set up to do. Does not. And I know, you know, there's a shortage of foster families and, you know, things like that. And, you know, they can't take care of, you know, all the children. Well, I don't think that's true. I think they can. Maybe if they had criminally charged the parents a long time ago when Zion was beat at 4 months old, things might have had a different ending. Just my opinion. It's frustrating, and it's so sad. It's so sad because this did not need to happen. Could have been prevented. And again, you know, Zion's grandmother filed a suit because she blames the state. She said it in her interview, you know, the state failed Zion. She told the state not to give Zion back. You know, the state had evidence that he was being abused by his parents, but they said, oh no, let's just cover it up with a band-aid. Just take some parenting classes. He'll be good. He'll be fine. He'll be safe. No, he'll be 6 feet under. In closing, you know, I looked online, of course, at any, you know, social media platforms that Kyle and Grace might have. I found that Kyle got into, you know, bodybuilding, bodylifting, whatever you call it. He got married. And Grace, I see, works at a hair salon. She's a hairstylist at some salon in Maui. Did little Zion get justice? No, he did not. Some might say, oh, yeah, well, you know, at least Kyle spent 5.5 years behind bars. So what? 5.5 years is nothing compared to this little boy losing the rest of his life. And having to had spent such a short amount of his life being scared and frightened and abused. Just makes me sick. Yeah, I'm upset and disgusted because too many times you see these cases on the news. I mean, just in the last year alone, I don't know if you guys watch the news and stuff, but all the children that have been murdered and abused, here in Hawaii even, little Katanya, and I'm going to do her case soon, but it's just disgusting. It's sad. And you know what it comes down to is that these parents are on drugs. It's an ICE epidemic. Drug abuse equals child abuse. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Before I go, I do have a couple of announcements. I almost forgot. I was getting so wrapped up and pissed off at what's happening to our kids. So a couple of announcements. I'm going to start posting on Thursdays. We're gonna call that True Crime Thursdays. And for the month of October, Halloween's coming up. Oh, there's my kitty. We're gonna do Freaky Fridays. So I'm gonna be covering a case that happened on or around Halloween. And these cases are not gonna be, say, based only in Hawaii. It'll be anywhere in the world. And then I'm also gonna do a series called 50 and 50, which I know other YouTube creators have done this before. Basically, I'm gonna cover one criminal case per state, hence the term 50 and 50. So that's kind of exciting. This channel is having a little bit of direction. Alright guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys next week. Bye!